Now let's see who's really behind these bandages.
I've played The Last of Us Part 2 twice. That's one more time than most people probably have. That's about 50 hours of The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay. Second time was to get the gameplay recording, and then the audio still decided to shit itself because I recorded on a decade-old recording device. So maybe it's time to retire that HD PVR2. It served me well. Originally, this was going to be a discussion of the entire story of The Last of Us Part 2, then I realized that that recording is very boring and everybody already knows what the entire story is. People that don't even care about this game know what the spoilers are in it. It's like if I sit here and say, did you know that Abby played
the PGA Tour season opener
with Joel's face hole? You're not going to be like, what? Didn't hear that before. So, welcome to the spoilers. In case you didn't know what happens in The Last of Us Part 2, let me give you just a little bit of a summary. The second game takes place almost immediately after the first game's events. You escape with Ellie, you get to Jackson, you all settle down into your new environment. Ellie hates you because she's a growing teenage girl, and also because you saved her life by killing a lot of innocent people and ultimately ruining any chance of a cure, but she finds that out throughout the game. Also, within 2 hours of the game, Joel dies, even though in the promotional material they originally insinuated that he was going to be a bigger part of the game, which they immediately changed out this gameplay segment in the trailer to a clip of the guy from the Fast and the Furious joining you.
What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
What the hell are you doing here?
Why not? This is my Mexico. You make choices and you don't look back.
Yeah, I think because the movie's getting delayed recently with everything going on, they decided that Han was going to do a little fill-in on The Last of Us, and his character's alright, but I mean, we're here for Ellie. You played this entire half of the game as Abby, a completely new character, but you're gonna get Abby because what they didn't tell you, and they didn't let critics tell you until day one of the game's release, is you find out that the doctor that you killed to save Ellie in the first game was Abby's dad. No! So justifiably, she's kind of a little mad. No! And to be honest with you, I like Abby's character. A lot of critics have coined the phrase emotional manipulation or some shit that they put in here, like a manipulation tactic. Because I don't entirely agree with that, although I went into this game with my dumb consumer brain and not my big boy critic brain. I like Abby as a character, but the story is really kind of a jumbled mess, and I feel like they could have handled it a lot better than they did. But yeah, the first sin of this game would definitely be killing Joel off within the first 2 hours of the game. Yeah, you know, that emotional character that you built a connection with throughout the entirety of the first game. We're just going to completely scrap him. Scrap him for, God, what's her name? Dina. Anybody remember Dina? You know, that character that follows Ellie until you realize she's pregnant?
I think I'm pregnant. What? Don't worry, it's not yours.
And then she just spends the rest of the game in the theater until she has to save you from Abby. And then Abby spares her life, just like she spared your life. And the way you repay Abby for sparing your life twice is by trying to kill her again. That ending scene made me really uncomfortable. Definitely would have benefited from multiple endings or just a completely different handling of the ending. Oh boy, that ending was something, wasn't it? I guess the moral of this story was supposed to be that if you constantly just chase revenge, you'll never be content, or something stupid like that. I think the story is be careful choking people, because if you don't, you'll lose a couple of fingers. Ultimately, the story left me feeling kind of bleak. Angry Joe had a really cool take on the story in his review of The Last of Us Part 2. Really good video, by the way.
It's just that maybe it would have worked, played out differently, told better, in a different order. Like maybe we could have played as Abby first, play as a child. Let us build up this muscle mass to avenge this traumatic event that the audience isn't aware of and is never shown until it's too late. Ellie could get pissed at Joel like she does here the whole fucking game, and then sets out on her own game. And at some point crosses paths with Abby, and these two save each other and build a friendship, and they are the duo that we play and care for, just as we did Ellie and Joel in the first game. And then later Abby can find out who they really are and who Joel really is. Bam! And Ellie's world is rocked. That would have been compelling. That would have had real drama. This right here in the beginning of the first hour, it's just shock factor, for pure shock factor, completely missing its own point that it's trying to make. And I came up with that in 5 minutes. And you're telling me in 7 years this is what they did?
They could have just handled it a lot better. These flashback sequences from you and Joel together were really great, but they just kind of peppered them throughout the story. They also had a lot of these blackout sections, and I feel like they just overused a lot of tropes like that throughout the story. I didn't think the story was the complete dumpster fire that people have been making it out to be, and it's definitely not a bad game. If you enjoyed the first game at all and its gameplay, they didn't change anything. The upgrading system and all of that is almost exactly the same from the first game.
I got her! We're not going back!
Except now you can dodge, jump, and prone, which definitely spices the gameplay up, especially with the dodging, but the gameplay is about the same. Maybe it feels a little more fluid and less clunky than the first game. Everything feels a little bit more natural. Obviously, they spent a lot of time on the environments. I mean, they had this flashback where you go to a museum. Shout out to the Jurassic Park references. Those are pretty lit.
See, there's a sequel. Wasn't as good.
And you can see each and individual little model detailed in this museum has its own little description on the wall, and it's like a fully realized thing. The world and the graphics and the detail obviously are great. The gameplay's pretty good. The gore is really awesome. You blow a dude's legs off and then watch him scream for 10 seconds before he bleeds out. It's pretty lit. Just the flow of the story and the entire build-up to this game is just really awkward. Like, in that trailer where they changed the scene with Joel at the end of it, they had the same scene in there with his death. So what were they interpreting with that other than to just bait people? But obviously, yeah, big props to this game being one of the most realistic-looking games on this generation of consoles. Very notably, the glass breaking is very realistic, and this is something that I feel like gets underlooked in a lot of games, because like if you look at Mirror's Edge, like just 11 years ago we had glass just kind of like poof when you broke it. Now you have realistic shards drop to the ground, and if you have like a signage or some kind of detail on that glass, like a logo or something, when the glass breaks, the glass and the broken shards still retain that logo, which I thought was a nice detail. And I didn't think the story was all that bad. It was just kind of handled a little awkwardly, especially considering that they had 7 years on it. Yeah, the story wasn't supposed to be happy and make you feel good, and I kind of get what they were going with it, but that doesn't change the fact that it is what it is. If Animal Crossing is a nice comfort food or a warm blanket on a cold night after a hard day's work, Last of Us Part 2 is like a shot of liquor after you're already hungover. One more note about the gameplay. Levels feel a lot more open than the first game. There's multiple paths you can take and different ways you can handle situations. I really like that, and it's a really nice touch. It really shows you how much they developed the level design and all the AI and stuff from the first game. I think that was pretty cool. You as Ellie can kill thousands of these wolf soldiers, but then when you kill the wolf soldiers that are specifically tied to Abby, oh, that's really sad. Oh no. And I think all of the emotion portrayed in these cutscenes and the voice acting and all of that is really good. However, it just feels a little awkward given the circumstances of it. Oh, by the way, they put like a real guitar in this, and the fact that people have recreated real songs with this is just insane to me. This is probably the best implementation I've ever seen of the PS4 touchpad. You can like slightly strum and it'll like do every single finger pluck, or if you just strum really fast, it'll strum all of the notes. And then they have different chord progressions when you hit the bumpers. It's just really, really cool. I'm not very good with it, but the fact that they just put that in there was a really neat touch. My ADD is really killing me in this video. What were we talking about? Maybe the whole point of the story was to make you feel uncomfortable and unsatisfied, but I don't know if that's what the majority of people wanted. And to be honest with you, after 50 hours of playing this game, I still just kind of feel a little off about the ending of that game. But obviously the game itself didn't suck too much because I played it twice, so maybe I'm the idiot. I can't think of anything else to add here, so if I haven't spliced it in by now, I guess I'll go ahead and call it quits. But overall, I think the game is pretty good. The ending just feels really awkward considering the first game. If you played the first game, or you're going to play the first game, or you know anything about the story, I figure you might as well go into the second game if you're thinking about it. But other than that, I don't know, it just kind of left a weird taste in my mouth, but I still think the game itself is pretty lit. But I think that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed it, there's a Patreon link you can support, so maybe I can get a better capture card. Shout out to Exeat for supporting the Patreon like he does, doing God's work, and check out some of my other videos, maybe possibly, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. It's been T. Now I gotta edit this thing.
Please don't. Joel, please get up.
Smash Brandy's cooch.